Okay, so this is the first of a series of tests that I'll be conducting on some of these mag mount 3/8 thread antennas. It's about 60 feet up in the air, and they'll all be on the same mount, and we're going to use this one as our reference antenna and compare it against some popular antennas that are commonly used. So here I'm at my station. I got it in the Yaesu FT97D, and it has some wonderful features, but one of the drawbacks to it is, well, the S meter is not that great, but you can get an external one, and the external one is much more accurate, which plugs on to the back. So today I'm got an hour or two before I lose light, so I'm going to try to get through some antennas today with this meter, and then the next time I do it will be with a higher resolution S meter, an external one. I'm tuned to a local 10 meter repeater, which is on the other side of town, probably 25 kilometers away. And this is the Sirio Performer 5000, the first antenna, and it's a reference to all the other measurements because the last time I did this, the Sirio Performer was the best one, and that's what I kept for the last few years. And we're going to be comparing it to some other popular antenna types. So you can see the Sirio Performer 5000 is around S8 to S9. And unfortunately, we have lots of noise on the band today, but it's over the noise. And as long as we sort of keep track of where, I'll take a screenshot of where the needle average is, and then we can compare against the other guys. And the other two guys, or there's actually 4 or 5 antennas I have right now to test. Some of them are much shorter, some of them are around the same size. I have a KW-7, and most of them are on the shorter side, so they're obviously not going to do so well. That's my hypothesis. But we'll test each one and come back. Sirio Performer 5000. Okay, so this is the Firestik KW-7. It might have an unfair advantage because it was tuned at the time to 10 meter band. But I'm going to throw it in anyways for this test. And I'm going to do some of these tests in a mobile environment, but maybe exclude this antenna because it's just too big to cart around. But this is the 7-foot Firestik KW-7, biggest one, and they say it can outperform the 102-inch stainless steel whip. Okay, this is the Firestik KW-7. Very close to the Sirio Performer 5000. Alright, so this is the Signal Engineering Goldenrod 45. Bit of an oddball. It's got a funny design with a top-loaded high Q coil and a capacitance hat. All these antennas are for sale. I have the original box for this one, which makes shipping very easy. This is the Signal Engineering Goldenrod 45. This is the Everhardt SOTT-4 or SOTT-5. I'll check. I think it's the SOTT-4. It's from a Texas-based company, and it did very well in my last tests, despite its size difference. This is the Everhardt SOTT-4 or SOTT-5. I will validate the model after the test. The noise floor is lower, but it doesn't seem to have as much receive strength as the other previous tested antennas, which are also longer. This is a Wilson 5000 trucker. Wilson 5000 trucker. This little guy is the K40 Flex series, which is continuously loaded on a 1/8 inch, I believe, fiberglass rod with a tunable tip, but it's set to factory default. It's a short little guy, so we're gonna put him up to the test with the rest of them. K40 Flex, it's a 2-foot, so this is the 2-foot model from K40. This is the K40 2-foot Flex series quarter wave. And you can see it has low noise, and it actually competes very well with the longer antennas. Very surprising, actually. A good little light antenna. This one is the RoadPro RP-550, and it's a little bit taller than the Firestik. I think it's a 30-inch antenna, the base load. And this antenna is sort of a low profile design. Other names this antenna has, it was touted to have come from Moonraker or some other company, big antenna company, and then RoadPro bought them out along with some other brands. So in Europe, this antenna is well known under other brands, and I think it's Moonraker, and it has a tunable base. The base of the antenna is tunable, and I might have to adjust it slightly because the rings don't look like they were ever moved out of the farmost position. So I'm gonna go in and we'll check the signal reading, and then we'll just taper the rings a little bit, the tuning rings, and see if anything changes. This is the RoadPro RP-550 default tuning, which they say it's tuned at the factory. The noise floor is very low, but the signal strength for the receive is much poorer. Could be because there's a loss of gain there. This antenna was bought off Amazon and there was a lot of good reviews for it. It also is sold under other names in Europe, and I will post those names later when I have a chance to find them. It seems that they might have been sold under the Moonraker or another high-profile antenna brand. Well, I'm running out of light, and I gave this guy a second chance because it's longer than the Firestik, but it doesn't seem to have the receive strength. And I thought, okay, you know, it was tuned for CB, the ring, that ring on the bottom there, you see that ring down there? I moved it right over to the upper side from the bottom side to give it a better chance on 10 meters. And we'll go in and take a look at what we got. Well, the noise floor is the lowest of all of the antennas. Well, not the lowest, sorry. The signal strength in general is lowest of all the antennas, even including the noise. Despite me trying to doctor the antenna or put it in a situation where it has an advantage against the larger antennas, it's still, without a antenna analyzer and more sophisticated equipment and tuning, leads one to believe that this antenna is just not as efficient as the others, which are already pre-tuned. And I didn't pre-tune it when I took it out of the package. The packaging says it was pre-tuned, but you know, there's so many different variables with vehicles and mounting and stuff that you may have to do fine-tuning. So I really tried to make this one shine and make it exceed. However, it was not able to. We still have quite a bit of loss. And I think it may never be able to perform as well as the other antennas. The K40 sort of, even out of the bag, the K40 had way more. It delivered the goods right away, even out of band, not where it's designed to operate. So, you know, this antenna, I'll spend more time with it, but I don't think it's going to be able to keep up with the rest. Thanks for watching. So to wrap this up, and some final words and conclusions. I tested these series of antennas this time. It's all I have in my pile of antennas. And I wanted to try to get an idea which ones are best for receive. I best try it with a antenna analyzer and set up each antenna the best I can next time. I know this is kind of crude, but I did try to make sure that all the antennas were factory tuned, with exception to the KW-7, which I had to make some changes to the end of it for 10 meters. So it might have a slight advantage because I removed some wire in order to tune it for 10 meters a long time ago, and I don't want to order another one just to do this test. So with that said, the Sirio Performer 5000, this guy, this is really the one that I chose when I did the same test about 10 years ago. And it did very well. It did exceptional against all of the other beefier antennas which I had. That included the Trucker 5000 by Wilson and this very interesting looking signal Goldenrod's 45. Now, I like this antenna. I think it's great. It's for sale if anybody wants it, but it's not something I want to have without a spring, and I don't want to have it on the roof. particularly because we have high winds and ice and all sorts of crazy weather patterns, that this thing would probably get destroyed. So I chose to use the Sirio Performer 5000 over the last 10 years, and all you can see is like it's weathered. It's, you know, the labels come off and you can tell it's been out in the weather. It's like corroded a little bit there on the base, and it's taken on some wear over the years just being in the elements. So what really surprised me out of this antenna test, and I know it's very crude and it can be improved, so throw me some comments and like the channel and get involved, do your own tests and prove me wrong. But what really surprised me in all of this is that the K40, the 2-footer, and they come in other lengths, and I would think that the longer lengths of this model and the non-flex series, because this one's meant to flex, it's meant to be a little more lightweight for sports cars, which I have, and a little more low profile. You don't want a big whip on a sports car these days. It just looks, to me, it just doesn't look right. But to each in their own. But this one, regardless of looks and length, kept up with the rest of the big boys. So very interesting test results we saw today out of this guy, and it was just factory tuned. I didn't move anything here on the end. This has got a tunable tip. It's a K40 model, and the K40 brand was always known as the base loaded. That base loaded design was a killer back in the day, in the early 80s and 70s. That was the antenna to get, because they had mastered antenna design back then. And then they said, oh, Wilson came out with this larger coil, more power you can put through. Of course, you know, you're going to gain something throwing more power through it, but we're just testing receive ability, like the ears on the whole system. That includes the feed line, the mount point, the feed point, and then you have the antenna or the active element. And then finally, this guy really wanted them to shine, because for a sports car or a low profile design, this one to me is the best looking antenna. You know, just because it doesn't have a lot of wind load and it looks more like a cellular antenna. It doesn't look out of place on a small little sports coupe or you know, smaller vehicles, where these other guys kind of, if you care about looks, then you may not want to use any of these other guys, especially the 7-foot Firestik. That thing's huge. So that's my final review on it, and I encourage everyone to try it out. And this is, I'm not paid to do this. I'm hoping to get some subscribers and some donations to my channel. You can donate to me through the YouTube subscriptions or liking the videos. That's all I want. I do this for fun. So thank you for watching, and it was very interesting to see the results, just to revisit this. And if you want me to test an antenna, just say which one and I'll put it on the mount. We're going to come back and do a mobile version of this, but with the transmit side. So I'm going to set up a beacon from here, and then we're going to mount it on a car. We're going to drive out, and we're going to see how well that we can receive our own beacon and transmit back to the home base, and see if things are linear or if they're not linear. Where we drive out and we set up a station, and I will record every single one of the antenna's transmit powers. Of course, each one will be tuned to that frequency, so it'll be more accurate, and we'll have a good baseline on receive and transmit performance. But this time I'm doing a little bit more crude method, and I realize I'm going to get a little bit of flack for that, but it's the best I can do in a couple hours when the sun's going down. I think it gives a good indicator that length gives you some gains, and we found some shocking results with a 2-foot antenna. Having compromises with length, it's pretty staggering against longer antennas, and I'll leave it at that. So thank you for watching, and subscribe and like, and have a great day.